Hey everyone, so it has been a while since I made a video, but I thought I would show you around my patio. So one of the things that I really enjoy doing is I like to garden, and I've been living in the city now for at least 5 or 6 years, and even before that I was in rental properties to where I couldn't even garden. But gardening has always been something that I really enjoy. I think it's like kind of in my lifeblood, kind of passed down from my father. But now that we've kind of settled into a place and we have this gorgeous patio, which I'm about to show you, I have been able to dabble a little bit more in gardening. So I have gotten back to my herb gardening, which is something that I've always done for as long as I can remember in my adult life, with little stints where I didn't. But since moving to this new apartment, I have gotten more of an opportunity to test that out. Also this year, I am trying something a little bit new. So I am trying some greens. We've got red romaine, we've got red Swiss chard, we also have arugula, and then I have this other mix that I've put in. So at any rate, enough of me talking. Let's go take a tour of the patio. And as you can see, my trusty dog is going to accompany us as we do that. So when you first walk outside the door, the first place that I have is right here. And just to give you a highlight, so I went this year with a little bit more of a simplistic theme than I did last year. And it's kind of got this Zen garden kind of vibe to it. But when you first come out, the first thing that I have right here is just your standard chive. So this is great to just kind of come and take some clippings off of, and it's right outside the kitchen area so you can have your chives. This is a new one that I'm trying this year. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that it is a sage, I believe. This one's a new one. It's like, I think like a Mexican sage or something Mexican. It actually kind of has the look of something else some of you may be familiar with, but it's not that. And clearly you can tell because of the leaf structure, although it may look similar. And this one's actually starting to bud, which I may want to take that off. Since this is a new one, I will have to do a little bit more research on it. And then we kind of move over to this area. And so in this area, I've got a couple things going on. This is garlic chive. So it's a little bit flatter of a leaf and tends to have a garlic flavor to it. This one actually survived the winter in this pot, so it died off. And again, that pot had one in it as well, but this one just started springing up maybe in like February. And it looks like it's doing actually really well, which says to me that it has a great root structure. This one down here is just your basic sage. Right now it looks like it's starting to kind of grow, but it's still about the same size that I purchased it at. So it hasn't done anything crazy just yet, and that may be because of the size of the pot that it's in. So a lot of these things I was trying different stuff, but this one, it will, I imagine, start to kind of do a little bit more, but it still looks healthy, so that's good. Move up into this pot. And in this one, I've got 3 things going on. So the first thing that I have that is actually doing really well, and it tends to do really well just naturally, is your oregano. So this one has, it's just your standard, smells like oregano, but it's your standard kind of gardening oregano, and this one is very fruitful. This is a, I think, monolith or mammoth rosemary. It looks like it's kind of the same size that I purchased it at, but again, you can kind of tell at its health by how many leaves it has on the branch. And last year I went with kind of this whole pot was just a bush of rosemary that looked like a pine tree that I purchased at Costco. But this year, being that I didn't use, rosemary is one of those that you don't use a ton, so I figured I would try some of the more unique ones and just kind of mix it into a pot instead of having it all one. This is bay leaf. It's a bay tree, but this year, instead of getting it in a larger size like I did last year, I decided to go with a smaller sapling. So this one is still kind of around the same size that I purchased it at. You will notice though that there is another one starting to kind of grow just back here. So that one might end up adding to growth. So I think some of these are going to grow in time. Alright, so I'm just going to do a quickie over the fence because I don't really feel like leaving my property. So this pot right here has two mints in it. So I'm a big mint fan. I think it's great for tea, just to kind of take some snippings and just kind of like go like this and drop it, or you know, break it apart and drop it into tea, and that's really good. So I have two different types there, and then over here I have the other two types. And I think I went with like your standard spearmint and peppermint, but I think there might be some unique ones in there. So this one in the back that's kind of taller, I don't think I've had that one before, and I might need to trim it back to just kind of have it stay lower and begin to fill out. And I think one of these is an orange mint, which I've never tried before. So I'm really excited about those. The things in the front, I do need to pop off some of the dead things on top, but those are not edible. They're more of an ornamental. And then as you come into this area, we have some more herbs. Yay! I love herbs! Okay, so in this kind of pot here, which actually ended up working out great, although it does look like, again, it needs to be trimmed back a little bit just because it's kind of starting to get little flowery type, and I want to try and have it be more filled out at the bottom. But this is marjoram, or marjoram. Oh, I don't know what it's called. It's a new herb for me in the sense of I don't really cook with it. What are you doing? Are you eating the herbs? Are you eating those herbs? She's my little helper. But as you can see, it is one that will creep over, so I think it works out. And right next to that, this one has 4 in it. So I have another rosemary back here that we're going to give a shot. Again, some purple sage back here, which will be similar to that one, but obviously with a purple underbase. And you can kind of see that a little bit in there. This, I believe, is, I think, another type of oregano. A different type, but another oregano. Those are always really good to cook with. And then my all-time favorite, or at least one of my all-time favorites, which is thyme. And thyme is one of those that you can use as like filler, because it will start to creep over, but it will also fill in kind of some of the basey aspects of your planter. Alright, so moving over, this is a new planter for us. We were actually trying to find something that could be a little bit more against the wall to open up our patio space a little bit more, have proper drainage, and be able to hold our plants. And so this one actually looks like it really took off this week. We had some really nice rain, which I think really helped these plants kind of get to their spot. So over here, which again I need to trim off some of these buds, but I believe that this is a basil. So that's always really good. And then we have your traditional basil here, which definitely also needs to be kind of trimmed back a little bit and get that closer to the ground. And then here's another one of my favorites. This is a pineapple sage, and the smell of this is just absolutely amazing. It really does have a pineapple kind of flavor. And it also kind of forms into a nice kind of bushel, so it works really well in kind of herbal arrangements, because it will stay kind of leafy with these really pretty leaves and kind of fill out an area. This one I also like to put in tea, even though it is a sage. These down here are, again, different types of thyme, because like I said, I love thyme. And I love the way it grows, and it really does begin to fill in an area. These two particular types are a lemon thyme, I believe, but they actually look kind of different. So this one has more of like kind of like a variegated sort of look to it, whereas this one is very like very green and very short and almost evergreen like. But just like I said, if you move down here to this small pot, again, we have another thyme. And I can't remember which one this is, but really you can never have enough thyme. Get it? Okay, so moving on. Another cool thing that we wanted to try this year, and it looks like they are finally starting to sprout. I did these from seed, but these are going to be your bunching onions. So pretty much like your green onions where the stem has like a bottom to it that's kind of white, and then you've got the green that kind of comes up like a thicker grass. And that's kind of also why it's in a taller pot, so that there's room to grow. We have some ornamentals. I'll come back to the ornamentals, but back here is where we have our patch. So it's looking a little haphazard right now just because I did trim off pretty much all of the greens and actually ate them for dinner tonight. It was actually really good. I was impressed. This is the first time I've ever done greens my whole entire life, and it's been extremely easy. Now the ones that I ate today were actually from the farmer's market, so they were already past their seedling stage, well beyond that. But I do have some seedlings that are actually starting to do really well. So as you can see, this right here is kind of like a mucilin mix. It's doing okay. We've got some red chard right here, some red romaine lettuce, which this one I just kind of chopped the whole thing off, but we'll see how it does. Like I said, I've never done this before. Over here we have our 2 arugulas, which these have an amazing black pepper flavor to them. Some more of our red romaine, another red romaine, and then some more of our seedlings that are starting to come through. And what's cool about these is if I want, I can actually probably cut them now and eat them as seedlings, but I am choosing to kind of let them grow because I've never done it before and I kind of want to see what it's like. And just like that, we also have another one on this side, and this one looks to actually be a little bit further along in its growing process. It's the same as the ones that are over there that I planted from seed, but for some reason these look like they are just doing a little bit better, and I don't know if it's maybe sunlight or what. There is even a chance that I might move all the ones that are over on the other side to over here, but we'll wait on that for now. All right, so we are moving into the other area, and just to give you a little perspective, we started out over there, and now we're moving kind of onto this side. We've got some greens over there and the greens I just showed. So this year I decided to splurge on something a little daring, and I know that this will have to come in and be winterized when it's time, but we actually went with an olive tree. So I'm not quite sure how this olive tree will go, but I figured I'd give it a shot. It's got really pretty leaves and it just kind of looks like a nice tree. So we're just gonna let that keep doing its thing. I haven't even taken it off the bamboo yet because it still feels like it's kind of like a little sapling. And then down below, as you can tell, this whole thing is thyme. And you can even see, that's what I'm talking about. It just loves to move and shake around and really fill in an area and just kind of create this grassiness. Okay. So that is pretty much all that I have on the herb gardening front, but I'd also like to show you some of the plants that are not edible but make up the whole kind of ambiance, so to speak. All right, so we're gonna head back over to where we began, and I'm going to tap into some of the other plants that we have. And a lot of the other things that I try to fill in are either smaller plants or less maintenance plants, things that have different textures, don't need as much care, but kind of overall kind of fill that whole package. So the first thing on that list is this succulent right here. that was just kind of placed into a pot, and it seems to be doing pretty well. And with this one, I just absolutely love the colors of it. It's got this red and this green and this waxy leaf. And then, let's see, I'm trying to see what else we have. Hi, Miss Dottie. So here we have these small pots. This came in a set of 2, and I ended up moving its kindred over to another pot over there, because, well, both of them couldn't fit in here. So we have that. This succulent here is absolutely gorgeous. So I've grown these before, and they can really take some beautiful shape, but for some reason, I don't know if it's what's in the soil or due to it aging or what, this just has some really great color textures to it. So right now I'm absolutely loving this one. And then we have this wonderful kind of fern thing going on, which when you mix all these together, it just, to me, it just has a really great vibe to it. And then there was this one, which honestly was such a tiny little vase that it was really hard to find something to fit in it. But I managed to find something. I don't know how healthy it's doing. I mean, it still looks like it's doing okay, but again, this came down to texture and then how the leaf shaped. I just love how this leaf looks like right here. It looks very feminine, almost like orchid-like, but it's not. All right, so over here we have 2 new ones. We have one that I have hidden under here. It is a fern, and it's a really nice fern, but I have it hidden because it did start to, as you can see, it started to burn itself a little bit when it was back over there because it was in the sun too much. So in order to kind of keep it rocking and rolling, I just have it tucked in here. And it ends up kind of filling up the space nicely. Then I have this thing, and I don't remember the name of it, and it's very unique, but I absolutely I saw it at one plant spot and I passed it up, and then I went to another one and I just was like, you know what, I can't pass it up. I really envision it being in a cool spot. And what I love about it is just, it's got these little flower things going on. It's got kind of this red, kind of goes with that shard, like that Swiss chard look to it. And it's even got kind of like an evergreen, and apparently it's like a perennial, but I don't know. What else do we got? Oh, have another thing here of chives, because, well, you can never go wrong with chives. And then this planter, this planter, I planted 2 things that I did last year, or 2 of them that I did last year, which is this eucalyptus. I absolutely love that. But I also decided to kind of do something a little unique, and it looks like it's kind of hurting a little bit, but that's okay. You know, I'm okay with that because it gives it character. But it's this like almost like shamrock type plant. And I got one in green and one in purple. I wanted 2 purples, they didn't have it. It did at one point. I think it's just starting to die. Each one of them had these really beautiful flowers a part of it, and it kind of stuck up. But you know, I'm trying new stuff, just trying to see what works and what doesn't. And then over here we have the last of our plants. So this is that sister plant. It's a little bit on the smaller side. It's very strange looking, but it seems to be doing okay. Might need a little bit of water. And then we have these. So this is a succulent of some sort. I've grown ones like this before, but what I really liked about this one is the color palette on it. So it's got like not only these strange markings, but it's also got this kind of orange color to it, and I really like that. We've got this bad boy right here, which he was just super unique, and he didn't even have those little phalanges on the top, so that's kind of some new growth with it. It is spiky, as you can see. Those are some pretty gnarly spikes. They do kind of go into not as spiky when they get longer, but they still have also really tiny ones in there. But that's a really unique one, and again, low maintenance. And then we just have this to kind of fill it out. And I feel like this one might need a smidge of water, because he looks like he's like he just needs more water than the rest of the dudes. But there you have it. That is it. That is the garden. Yeah, I think it's really cool that I can go out there and snip off some stuff and be able to eat it. I think that it gives definitely a zen feel. So when you're out there, you can just kind of chill. Some have higher maintenance than others, so it's kind of like it's not overwhelming. But at the same time, you know, when you want to go out and do something, it gives you something to nurture and care for, and I think that's really cool. So that's my patio garden. I live downtown in a city, so it's really neat that I'm able to kind of cultivate food sources in my patio area. So you can't beat that. I mean, that's kind of cool, if you ask me. I mean, I'm just saying, it's kind of cool. But at any rate, that's all I wanted to share with you today. Nothing special. I don't really do this YouTube thing anymore, but being that the garden just looks so absolutely invigorating, I thought that I'd at least give you a tour and kind of show you that anything is possible when you live in the city. So don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to let things fail, because over time you'll learn what works, what doesn't. You'll learn new things. But yeah, that's all I got. So peace.